Good evening. This side Rahul Magan here as a Group Chief Executive Officer, Treasury Consulting. As we speak, Treasury Consulting is a Singaporean multinational headquartered group. We are based out Singapore. We are a multinational multi-asset hedge fund. By multinational, I mean we actively takes position at various locations, which includes United States, Europe, and Asia Pacific region. By multi-asset, I mean we actively take positions in multiple asset, which includes foreign exchange, contract for differences, gold, silver, platinum, equities, and many more asset classes. But like I repeated many a times, we are a proprietary hedge fund. By proprietary, I mean no third party. I repeat, no third party can invest capital in our fund. The hard reality of life is whether we accept this or we do not accept this is offshore financial centers. They are also known as tax havens, play a very important role in the global financial market. And I don't know, I should use a word unfortunate or what should I use, but the reality is every passing year, many countries' name are included in these offshore financial centers. Like I'm speaking nowadays, we have Netherlands, also known as Amsterdam, Ireland, British Channel Island, and many more countries list in offshore tax havens. I know many people even not believe that how come Netherlands, Amsterdam can be an offshore tax haven, but if you look at Google, you would get to know that it is actually an offshore tax haven. But when we set up our company in offshore tax haven, whether we are a big technological giants of America, we are a big technological giants of South Korea, or probably we are much bigger, then one thing which we need to understand is the few important points which define which offshore center is best. So I have UK Channel Island, I have British Virgin Island, I have Cayman Island, I have Caribbean, I have Mauritius, I have Dubai, I have Singapore, I have Hong Kong, I have Netherlands, I have Ireland. The list is very long. As we speak, we have over 125. You heard me very right. We have over 125 global financial centers, technically offshore financial centers. These points are accessibility of creation of SPV. SPE stands for Special Purpose Entity. Interest of OECD investors and European investors. Almost zero taxation on intellectual property, shortly known as IP. Linking with securitization market and connectivity of So let's go with point number one, which is accessibility of creation of SPE, special purpose entity. One of the predominant reason of an offshore tax haven is the reason behind construction of SPE. I know for many people of the globe, special purpose entity, special purpose company, special purpose vehicle, and special purpose corporation, which is known as SPC, all four are same. I repeat, special purpose entity, special purpose company, special purpose vehicle, and special purpose corporation, SPC, all four are same. But do you know, when we say offshore tax havens, we first create SPE, special purpose entity. The bookish knowledge is that majority of the SPE are bankruptcy remote. But unfortunately, this in reality is not 100% true. Because there is something called rehypothecation, there is something called multitude beneficial ownership. Unfortunately, this is a reality. So on paper, people claim that my SPE, special purpose entity, is having a bankruptcy remote status, but unfortunately this is not correct. That's a very important point. So if you are setting up your offshore entity, you need to learn that SPE should be created in a simplest way. Second is the interest of OECD investors and European investors. OECD and European investors always invest in those SPE in special purpose entities in offshore tax havens, those who are OECD compliant. I can create SPE in Cayman. I can create SPE in Netherlands. I can create SPV in Mauritius. I can create in Singapore, Hong Kong. But are they OECD compliant? That's an important point. I don't have a statistics, but it is said that majority of the SPE in the world are invested by OECD investors. So I don't know whether I'm going with Caribbean, I'm going with Cayman, I'm going with UK channel, I'm going with British Virgin Island, I go with Cayman, probably Singapore. But one thing which I need to understand is that if my SPE is not OECD compliant, then I won't get investors. As simple as that. Third is almost zero taxation on IP. And here Ireland play a very important role. I don't want you to name any American technology company, rather set of American technology companies, those who invested heavily in Ireland. And you would be surprised to know that in Ireland, these American companies pay 0.05% of taxation. You heard me very right. 0.05% of taxation as compared to 30% plus taxation in US, excluding the cess and everything. So 0.05% and 30%. Why? Because Ireland offer almost zero taxation on IP, provided you know how to make this happen. Offshore financial centers or tax havens are designed to handle securitization market, which include mortgage-backed securities, asset-backed securities, residential mortgage-backed security, collateralized debt obligation, collateralized bond obligation, collateralized mortgage obligation, collateralized debt obligation squared, collateralized bond obligation squared, and the list is enormous. The big financial players like sovereign wealth fund, pension funds, venture capitalist, private equity, and many a times the proprietary desks of investment bank are actively taking positions in this securitization market. I'm sure 99% of the people never heard this about. Since we never heard this about, we do not want it to know this about. That is another beauty of game. But an offshore financial center should be selected considering the withholding tax. There is a thing in securitization called CDO arbitrage. CDO arbitrage is nothing but the cost of the pool and what you are getting. Sometimes it is okay, sometimes it is paper thin, and sometimes it is negative. And what would if I'm supposed to pay the withholding tax, which I will never get back? Then, technically speaking, the cost I am passing to my investors. Compared to an offshore financial center where there is no withholding tax and whole benefit is passed to the investor. Please do take a note of that. Last is the connecting with G7 banks private banking desk. You name a G7 bank, they have a private banking desk. You name top banks and I'll tell you the fraud they not done. As we speak, Citibank again fined. Morgan Stanley manager, because of the bulk trades, he asked to go on leave, and the list of scandals is long. G7 banks private banking desks are always linked with the law firms, those who help you to set up SPE or SPV. But the point is, you need to understand very well how to take the help of these private banking desks. Because if you are setting up an offshore financial center, whether you are setting up a foundation, you are setting up a company, you are setting up SPE, you are setting up SPV, or whatever you are setting, but you do not have a contact with the private banking desk of G7 bank, then it makes no point. That's very important. So take a note of this. And if you're thinking all private desk of G7 bank are homogeneous, by homogeneous I mean they offering more or less same set of products, then you are again mistaken. They are not at all homogeneous, they are heterogeneous. So we need to understand very well that which private banking desk I am looking forward. This is Rahul Magan. The video is presented by our tax haven desk. You know my personal number 9899242978.